On this episode of Broncos Legends, we are catching up with former Broncos wide receiver Brandon Marshall. Brandon, it's good to finally be able to catch up with you here for a little bit. We like to start all these out by simply asking, what have you been up to lately?
What have I been up to? Well, first of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It seems like forever being a part of the Denver community. So I'm always appreciative when I have these moments. I'm really doing the same things that I've been doing for the past almost 8 years. But outside of playing football, that's the only thing that's changed in my life. I'm a big believer in, for athletes to figure out who they are outside of the game, start dibbling and dabbling in those things, whether it's an internship or starting a nonprofit, launching a company. We should do those things while playing. Once you are settled in, right? I wouldn't recommend that for a rookie, but once you're a veteran and you figure out who you are outside the game, there'll never be a better moment to do that. So for me, still working on a nonprofit. My wife and I launched Project 375 10 years ago, and trying to bridge the gap in the mental health community. So proud of all the work that our team has done in that space. Helping taking it from a taboo topic to an everyday conversation. Still on Inside the NFL, started that 7 years ago, and just got a new gig, FS1, First Things First, and the latest project for us, and probably the most important one is House of Athlete. We feel that there's so much stigma on the mental health side, and we've tried to do some amazing things there, and we have done some good things, and our team has pounded the pavement for years. But we find that going on the other end of the spectrum, dealing with health and wellness, people getting in shape, and teaching people the fundamentals of training, teaching people the fundamentals of how to fuel correctly, track their macronutrients, and approach anxiety, depression, performance the same way, recovery and drive. So those 5 things, teaching people what that looks like has been more impactful, and we're seeing more transformation in people's lives than actually pounding the pavement saying, there's so much stigma around mental health and being so clinical.
Why did you feel like it was so important for you to give back to that mental health community? Obviously, that's played a huge role in your life, but for you to be able to give back, why did you feel like that was important?
Yeah, it's just my purpose in life, right? I think a lot of people understand, my story. Some people may not, you take the time and Google it, but just growing up, just, throughout the league, just figured out that this is why I was here. Football was not my purpose. And I think that's why a lot of guys struggle. It's because they're so wrapped up, their identity is so wrapped up in the game, but they don't know who they really are. So for me, I realized that my place here on earth is to help bridge the gap in the mental health community, just through my journey throughout the NFL. A lot of ups and downs, and learned so much, and just happy to be in a place now where my experiences, my failures can help other men and women.
When you were a young guy here in Denver, what kind of role did a guy like Rod Smith play for you?
Yeah, Rod Smith, that's Smitty. Everything. Still to this day, he's a mentor for me. Showing me not only how to be the best wide receiver I could be, and teaching me how to run a slant. Brandon, you need to get the 5 steps, and make sure when you come out your break, it has to be sharp. And, little things like, hey, Rod, how many more plays do we have left on that script? And him turning around and telling me, Brandon, don't count the plays, make the plays count. So from a football standpoint, he taught me so much, and things that I was able to take. And when I became the Rod Smith for the Chicago Bears or the New York Jets and the Giants, I was able to pretty much take those same things and try to incorporate that into our programming and help develop the younger receivers. But off the field, man, he's just set the example. A true pro, a great man of integrity, and a guy like me coming in the NFL, I needed that direction. It took a couple years for me to finally figure it out, but Rod was, he was huge in that.
I know that you've been in the media for a while now doing your thing. Is that a path that you always thought you'd end up in?
No, no, not at all. I just think that it's an amazing opportunity for me to continue to have a platform to do amazing things for people, right? The reality is when the game is taken away from you, not a lot of people are beating down your door. Not a lot of people really care to hear from you anymore. They're on to the next person. So for me to continue to have a national platform, to be able to say, yes, I can talk about football, but at the same time, still send that message around health and wellness is critical. So when I realized that is when I dove into the media and taking it really serious. And it's been a blast. It's been around 8 years now. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and there's so much more work to be done.
I'm glad that you have that sense of fulfillment and the avenue to help other people. Brandon, when you think back to your playing career, though, how would you describe the kind of player you were?
Passionate, fierce competitor. It was personal for me, and I think that's why I struggled early on in my career. Understanding how to be a great teammate and when to have that fire and when to turn that fire off, because it was so personal for me. Where I come from, that's it. Football's life. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and that's a way out for a lot of people. So it wasn't a game, and it still isn't a game, to be honest with you. So I think football was really personal for me, and that's why I played the game the way I played the game. It was like, every game, it felt like life or death. I needed to score a touchdown every time I touched the ball. If we lost, I would probably be crying in the locker room on the way home. So very personal for me. When I look back on my 13 years in the NFL, it was one hell of a journey, and it was exciting. Some high moments, some low moments, but it made me who I am. And if I can go back and do it again, I wouldn't change anything.
I think fans could tell, obviously, how personal it was to you. There were a couple of moments that I thought maybe we could go back and look at. That touchdown against the Cowboys. That's got to be one of the top plays of your career, right?
Yeah, that was interesting because that was Coach Josh McDaniel's first year. It's weird to say this, but I had to kind of like prove myself to Josh again, and which I thought was awkward. So I went from being a top 5 wide receiver in the league in that year. The way he tried to build things was as if I was like the number 2, number 3 receiver, and we were just rotating. And I wasn't even supposed to be in on that play because it wasn't my time to even be in. And I went to him and said, "Coach, the game is on the line. Like, are you really going to have me on the sideline right now?" And he said, "Don't worry about it. We're going 3 wide, so you're in anyways." And I remember going to him and I said, "Coach, they're going to press me. Call hitch. And if they press me, then we'll get the go ball and I can go make something happen. If they don't, then just throw me a hitch and I'll go make the move and I'll make a guy miss." And it worked out. And that was a cool moment because after that, there was no more debate. This rotation, I'm on the field, off the field. I was the starter for the rest of that year. So that was a defining moment for me. And I always go back to that play. It's interesting that you went right there first because there's so many great plays. But it really just changed the trajectory of that year for me. Was changed trajectory of my life and signing a big contract and being able to take care of my family.
The other thing I was going to bring up was a record that still stands in the NFL today: 21 receptions in a single game.
Yeah, yeah, that was a big game. Before the game, I went to Michael Smith, I believe his name is Michael Smith from ESPN, and in pregame, I just said, "Hey, this is going to be the biggest and best game I've ever played." And I didn't know how it was going to look, but it turned out to be that. So that was pretty cool, just being locked in and really being in the zone. I didn't even know I had 20-something catches. I was so locked in and on winning that game and just doing my job. Towards the end of the game, I remember one of the receivers walking up to me and saying, "Brandon, you have 20 catches. You're a catch away from the record." I just looked at him like, "Why didn't you already tell me this?"
Brandon, that's awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate catching up with you.
All right, buddy. Thank you.